Test. I'm good.
Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, we're working.
I'm louder than you.
Test your mics, guys.
Test, test, test.
Check, check. The young girls cry. Check, check.
He's got three.
Four, four, four.
Hi, how are you? No, it is. I think so. Can people hear me? Now you got it. Number one, of course, Bill's on. What do you use my fingers to figure it out? Yeah, it was on a few minutes ago.
Rule number 1, guys. Don't talk over the next guy.
Hello, hello.
evening, everybody, and welcome to All Things Brunswick. We got a super special show for you tonight. The gloves are coming off,
Thank you, Doctor.
and we're really excited to have some super guests here tonight. Before we get to them, let me introduce my co-hosts, first of all,
Mary Stillwell.
and a special guest.
Isaac Souls.
Welcome, Isaac. So nice to have you here. So, we've got three wonderful gentlemen here. I'm going to let Mary do the introductions.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, I'm going to introduce our co-host for the evening. We have Isaac Souls, who is the president of the Brunswick County TARS. Welcome, Isaac. And just a little information on Isaac today. We are so proud of him. Today he voted for the first time. Want to say something?
Congratulations.
Yes, it was very, very fun. I'm glad I got to do it. So, all you young people need to vote.
Good job.
Now remember, you can't vote every other day this week. It's over.
Okay, our guests tonight are, believe it or not, a guest instead of a host, Mr. Bill Moore, the Brunswick County Chair of the Republican Party, Will Knecht, who is the chair of the New Hanover Republican Party, and Josh Smith, who came down to be with us, or came up to be with us.
Yes.
Is it down? Yeah, okay, you
I
came down.
thought it was down. Wait a minute. Okay.
He is the chair of the Pender County Republican Party, and we welcome you all. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you. Thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to Isaac and ask him to ask our guests the first question.
All right. So, as you guys know, I did just exercise my vote to right today, or right to
Vote
vote
to right,
today.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is just for any of you guys. How was your first time voting? If you remember, I know it was a very long time ago, Mr. Bill. But how was your first time voting, or any?
When Bill
memory you have?
voted, they had to do it by horse and buggy.
Yeah.
Pony Express delivered it.
Like the Flintstones.
I'm glad it's aimed at any one of us. I can't wait till they go after me.
That's right, Dad.
There's a story behind that we'll tell you one day. Voting was an interesting experience, riding the horse into the corral area, parking the horse, and then
Sure. They wasn't
getting
a
online, and
Velociraptor?
had to get a chisel to knock my vote in, and then turn it into Fred, who put it with the Flintstone votes, and but it was interesting. Yeah, but it was a unique experience. When I voted, you had to be 21, so you had to wait till your 21st birthday to vote. So things have changed a great deal since then, and I think it was something I have not missed since that date, which is only 5 years ago.
Plus a couple.
505 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. I remember when I was 18, it was 1984. It was the era of Ronald Reagan.
Oh, man.
And
I'm
my
jealous.
parents, who were very civic-minded, very into politics, made it a big deal for me. And that really set an impression in my mind that voting is a privilege. It is an honor, and it's important. My parents, my dad was a very busy guy. My mom was a busy woman, and they both took the morning off, took me to vote, took me to breakfast. We talked about what we had just done and the importance of it. And so for me, at a very early age, my parents instilled into me what a privilege it is to live in America, but to have the right to vote. And hopefully I've been able to do that with my kids as well.
It is so important, especially in young people. And if any young people are watching, if you are 17 at the moment, but you turn 18 before the general election, like me, you can actually vote in the primary election. So, yeah.
That's a
Of
nice
course,
bit
of
information.
course.
Like to address that, sir?
Sure. My first time voting, which was, I believe, '94. So I'm the young one over here. I was scared
Everyone's
to
young
death.
compared to Bill.
I had no idea. It's such a big responsibility what you're doing, and you're actually, what your vote means. And I had, I talked, I went with my father and I spoke to him about it, and it was, no big deal as far as the process. But I was so scared. I had no idea really what to expect, if I'm pulling things, if I'm going to do something wrong, if I'm going to be in a closed closet by myself and, get stuck in there. And yeah, I just remember that experience with my father going and doing it, and just being thrilled, as you are today, that you actually were able to participate in such a great, American tradition and privilege to do.
Thank you so much. That was great. I have a question for all of you. You can choose in which order you'd like to answer it, but it's important to me. I would like to know, as chair of the individual parties, what have you found to be the most challenging?
Are we going to do rock, paper, scissors?
We'll just alternate. You can start this one.
What has been most challenging? I'm in my first term as chair, and I just started my second year. And last year not being a election year, it was all let's build a party, get together, and just grow. And we really did that. I mean, we've seen our meetings went from 12 people to we broke 100 a few times. Now we enter 2022, and what we're in the middle of now is the primary.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing, because I have been involved, how primaries can get, navigating the primary situation has been very challenging. And just trying to keep everybody on the same team, knowing that we are in the same team, and that after May 17th, we should be even more so on the same team and behind our primary winner. So just trying to keep, it doesn't have to be kumbaya, everybody holding hands, you're competing for a position, and, attack policies, don't attack people, and just work together, because May 18th is coming very soon, and we need to be united, and we need to be behind our primary winner 100%.
Absolutely.
I guess my biggest experience was trying to herd feral cats. Because as I pulled this group together, there are so many diverse opinions around here, and you always hear the Democrats have their little boxes they put you in and they run. Around here, everybody's got at least 7 opinions on every topic, and to try to get them to unite to work on one area is a challenge at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I find that the most challenging, just keeping everybody focused in the right direction.
Will?
For us in New Hanover, this is my second term, and I think the biggest challenge for me has been managing my own expectations in terms of what the role entailed. I had really no idea of the complexity of the role, even in a small county. New Hanover County is a very diverse county, much more purple than my colleagues, where we have 68,000 unaffiliated voters, 54,000 roughly Republicans, and 52,000 Democrats. We are very different. And for me, not totally understanding what that meant in terms of the job at hand. I work with amazing people. We have an amazing group of volunteers. And, we fight a little bit like cats and dogs during the primary, but as Josh has said, come May 18th, we unify around conservatives and we attack bad ideas on the other side. So for me, the biggest challenge was truly understanding what this role entailed. It's been a lot more than I anticipated when I ran. But again, what an honor it is to serve, in my case, the residents of New Hanover County. And we work our tails off every day to do the best we can. Definitely not perfect. We make mistakes, and I make mistakes weekly. But I appreciate, the Republicans in New Hanover County coming alongside us and working with us for sure.
Great. Do you have a question?
All right,
Ian?
so just to give you guys some information, I put this out to various groups I'm in, small business groups, leadership groups, that type of thing, and I asked them what they wanted me to ask you. So these questions are actually from them. I have tweaked a few of them simply to make them for a family show in some cases. But I'm going to start with, I think what'll be, one of the ones that I wasn't really thinking about, but I thought it was a good one to start with, which is assuming the red wave happens, and indications are we should be seeing it. What can the party do? And not just, everybody thinks federal and maybe a little bit less state, but local also, to really help the average Americans. So what do you guys see is the best step locally, and then maybe just kind of chime in on state and federal level?
I guess I get to start this one by elimination. That's a tough question, because in Brunswick, basically all our elected officials are Republican already. So I think they've done an excellent job overall helping people out. If you look at the realities of our county, for a county that's growing as quickly as we are, and we're number 1, I think, in the state, number 4 nationally for growth, yet we have the 11th lowest tax rate of 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. We have a budget surplus of about $90 million that they have available that they put away. They've set up some great school programs. I mean, again, county commissioners dealing with the people. BCC, Brunswick Community College, is the #1 community college in the nation 2 years running. The county commissioners have put in the ability for any student in Brunswick County who either graduates one of our schools or homeschools or can go to school for free for those 2 years. And they've arranged for them to pick up a 4-year degree at a half a dozen other schools around the state for $500 a semester. So the investment's there for education. I give them credit also for the fact that they have gone out. For example, 2016 or 2018, I forget which one, they passed a big bill to pay for school buildings, whatever else. Yet the taxpayer never saw it. It was supposed to have been 3 cents per 100.
Right.
And the county managed to absorb that cost for all our taxpayers around the county. So I think they've done a great job. On the state level, the critical element is we still have a Democratic governor who has the ability to veto. So unless we do the 3-2-1 issue, which is hold the seats for what we currently have for our General Assembly and add 3 more around the state. In Brunswick County, we have to hold what we have because we already have Republicans in all those seats, but we need to talk to other people to get some people on board, 2 in the Senate, and we then need 1 Supreme Court justice. If we can do that, we can not only override Cooper's vetoes, which would allow us to pass laws that will help small business and everybody else, but it will allow the Supreme Court of the state to start killing this sooty or blue stuff. They have the power to kill these lawsuits, and the Democrats will back off a little bit because they know they can't win. Right now, they know they go to the Supreme Court, it's 4-3 Democrat, and the chances are they're going to win that battle. If it becomes 4-3 Republican or 5-2, if we get really good, we can stop some of these lawsuits. And that will affect business also because things can be implemented, and it won't be sooty or blue. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Josh, I guess we're going to you next.
Yeah, well, love that we're assuming that red wave is coming, and I agree. I mean, I think we're number 3 in the county, is the largest growing counties in North Carolina. And the growth is just tremendous, and just like me, there's a ton of people that are flocking from very liberal states, New York, California, Colorado. And what we really need to do is just work on our communications to, we have right now 18,000 registered Republicans, 16,000 unaffiliated, 11,000 Democrats. We need to just communicate more with our Republicans that are true Republicans but are not involved in the local party. Some of them, I was at a fair this weekend handing out cards. They had no idea that there was really a local GOP party because they're not in the immediate 2 towns where we do most of our events. We're 900 square miles, and it's tough to get out to everybody. So communicate better. We have a ton, everybody wants to come. We're close to the beach. I personally live within like 15 minutes of 3 beaches. But we have a ton of, we have Amazon coming to Pender County. We have a ton of other businesses that are going to be coming very soon that we can't even speak about yet, that I don't even know the full details because, our commissioners do exactly what they're supposed to do and keep those things, tight on the lip. But we know that they are coming, and it's going to make us even more desirable. So we need to really put the message out. We are red. Pender's been red since around 2010. We're going to remain red going into next year. So we got to put the message out. If you're coming here, know that we're red. Know that we plan on staying red. And you're welcome, but leave your other idolatries from your other states there. I did it. It was a joy for me to do it, and make sure you guys plan on doing that as
I
well.
love it.
Yeah, I think Dan is.
I don't know if you noticed, I'm from New York.
No, really? I could never.
Southern New York here.
I'm from upper New York.
I think for us in New Hanover County, it's going to be a battle to have a red wave in New Hanover County. Again, I gave you the demographics and what our voter looks like, but we've expanded the 3-2-1 that Bill mentioned in New Hanover to 4-3-2-2-1. Our objective this fall is to elect 4 school board members who are conservative Republicans. We hope to elect 3 state house members from New Hanover County that are Republicans and conservative. One of those would be sending Deb Butler home, the most liberal state house member in the state.
Yes.
And we've got a great candidate in John Hinnant to do just that. Our first 2 is the 2 state Senate seats statewide. We want to return Senator Michael Lee to the state Senate, and then hopefully there's another pickup somewhere else in the state. We have 2 county commission open spots that we want to take, so that would be the second 2, and then the 1 is the Supreme Court seat. So we've expanded it in New Hanover to 4-3-2-2-1, assuming in a best case scenario we do that. The day after election, we double down. And we have to stay hungry, we have to stay fighting, we have to stay building a party. And our objective will be to support and recruit individuals for 23 and 24 who want to run for office. We're looking to support them with the different training and assets and resources so that they are prepared for the campaigns in 23 and 24. And then we want to continue to build our volunteer base. So we'll double down the day after. We started a strategic planning process literally the week after the 2020 election to see what we did right, we could do more of, what we didn't do as well that we need to do better, and we've been executing upon that since that time. We'll do the same after this election, again, with eyes. We can never rest, right? The other side never rests.
Exactly.
We as a party will not rest, and our objective is not perfection. It's just making progress to being better and better each and every day, and that's what we'll do for future candidates and for our volunteer base.
That's great. I want to actually say a little bit about that. I think that we need to realize that as soon as this election is over, we start preparing for the next. And that is a very important point, Will. Thank you. I think we're going to take a little break.
Another 2 minutes or so. Yeah, you got a minute. Yeah, we got a minute. So.
Okay. So, all right. So let's ask Isaac what he thinks of this and if he has another question.
All right. Well, I came prepared. Just a real quick answer, but if our mascot, currently is an elephant, if it was not an elephant, what do you think? What animal do you think would best symbolize the party?
American Eagle.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
I was waiting. I bet all 3 were going to think
I was like,
that.
should we veto the American Eagle out of the options? But
Yeah, I would say a tiger. Again, the American Eagle, everybody's going to say that, and
Yep.
I agree with that as well, but I say a tiger. Again, Josh said it earlier very well. We need to be attacking bad ideas, and we need to strengthen our messaging. And I think I want to see, a party that is strong to do that, not attack people. The enemy is not a Democrat. It's their bad ideas, as Josh said.
Yep.
And I want us to be like a tiger or a lion?
Tiger.
You said
Tiger. Just keep on the attack and go after the bad ideas and get our message, our positive message out.
All right, Bill, you got 30 seconds. It'll be a miracle if you
Josh.
can finish in that.
Josh
time.
is
Bill
there.
already
Oh,
won.
I
You
know
got
you
30
said I know
seconds.
you said tiger because I'm going to say lion, and I would like us to be more aggressive. We can still, we are the party of law and order, and we should remain that way. But I would like just for us to be more aggressive and not letting them try to come in the other side and push us, and we can fight them while staying in the law and order boundaries. So let's go Lions.
And I think, as a closing comment, you will be very, very glad that Ben Franklin didn't win out for the national symbol
The turkey.
because he wanted a turkey. He fought for the turkey to be the
Yes,
national
he
symbol
did.
rather than the American Eagle. So
Are we ready, TK? Okay, folks, we'll be right back. We're going to break now for some commercials, some really great sponsors.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
We need judges who serve we the people, not self-interested career politicians. This is Jenny Statting, wife of Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Michael is a former prosecutor, sitting Republican judge, and a reservist in the United States Air Force. Michael is a lifelong public servant. That is why I'm asking you to remember to vote for Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Paid for by the committee to elect Michael Statting. Michael Statting is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of job title does not imply endorsement by the Department of Air Force or the Department of Defense.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. As a Marine Corps veteran, practicing attorney, professor of law, and father of 5, I want to pass on the precious freedoms that we inherited to the next generation. For that to happen, we need judges who will faithfully apply our Constitution and our laws, not rewrite them to achieve specific outcomes. If you share my commitment to liberty, please vote Trey Allen in 2022. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
The clerk of court makes legal decisions that affect the lives of Brunswick County citizens daily. The current clerk of court, who is an attorney, has demonstrated this for many years. Katie Maiden has practiced law for over 10 years. To ensure that this quality of service continues, vote Katie Maiden for clerk of courts. Paid for by the committee to elect Katie Maiden. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to All Things Brunswick. Tonight we have 3 chairs of the Republican Party from Brunswick, Pender, and New Hanover County. Bill Moore, Will Knecht, and Josh Smith, and we're so happy to have them. And our guest host, Isaac Souls, and he wants to say hello to someone real quick.
Grandma, if you are out there tonight, which I know you are, I just want to say hello to you, and I hope I'm making you proud, because that's the goal.
You are without question, honey. Hi, Betty. He's awesome. Okay, my next question is for all of you as well, and it seems to be a concern with everybody that I talk to lately. How well do you think the Republican Party educates the public on candidates? Will?
Yeah, I guess this is mine to start. And in the primary, are you speaking, Mary?
I'm
or just
talking
overall?
about any time.
I think there's always room for improvement. We in the primary in New Hanover County have allowed our candidates to take center stage and run the campaigns that they feel appropriate, and then when the general comes along, we'll get alongside them and help them message. We're at a disadvantage, obviously, as conservatives, and we need to out-message a messaging machine. The Democrats have not only themselves, they've got the media, they've got education, not our great teachers, but the system itself. And so we've got to out-message the other side. We've got to be more succinct. We've got to be tighter. We've got to speak in a language that others understand. We need to message in a way that is specific and yet reaches the heart. We change minds and we change people in terms of how they might vote by tugging at the heartstrings. And the issues and where we stand from a policy perspective as a Republican Party, we truly help people. We don't just put solutions out there that actually aren't solutions. They're just feel-good moments. We offer solutions, and we need to communicate that better, more effectively, more succinctly, and more often than we currently do. So I think if I was to give us a grade, I'd give us a C-. Always room for improvement, but again, we will do better. We've got great candidates in New Hanover County. It's going to be a thrill to work for them this fall because the messaging will be there.
Great. Josh?
Yeah, I agree with Will. There's always room for improvement. I do think there's a lot of improvement in this area. And especially it's more difficult in the primary because as far as our involvement, we want to promote all the candidates and get their name out. But we do have to stay neutral at the same time, so everybody has to have the fair thing. So I encourage all our candidates to, of course, have their own website, have their own social media, every other outlet. I still push direct mail. Do everything you can on your own, and then utilize the GOP as an additional step. And I did put out for a few of the, of course, there's only so much you can do in a short period of time in the primaries, but I did put out to a couple of them. We did have a candidate debate, and then a local newspaper also had another debate, so we had two chances to see all our candidates. And I even put it out there to a couple of them if they wanted to do one-offs where not even a debate, but just like the three of us are sitting here, I'll sit in the middle of two of our candidates and just have, a half hour rather than having such a strict 2-minute time limit just to talk and get that word out. We weren't able to do that this time. I definitely hope to have that. Again, this is my first term, and everything that I go through, I have a notebook where I'm jotting down, this is what I want to do differently next time. But I do believe that we have to do a better job promoting all our candidates and just giving our residents they're all doing their research, but let's give them as much material. So let's make it easy for our residents to pick the right candidates.
Right. Bill?
Yeah, what they said. No, but
Oh, you're not going
waiting
to
for that
end
line.
there.
Oh, of course not.
That would be a first.
I would agree with my colleagues here. We've done an awful lot in Brunswick to accentuate the candidates. Now, again, we have to be neutral. We can't pick Republican against Republican. So all we can do is have the ability to have people have meet and greets if they ask for it, and we do it. At our meetings, we've had almost every candidate speak many, many times to anybody that wants to hear them. Our women's group has actually just last week ran a 20-some-odd candidate ability for anybody to come in, and they were very well attended. But a piece of this also belongs to the voter. They need to make the effort to become informed.
I agree.
We're open here 7 days a week during this operation. We have material to hand out, but you need to make the effort to find out how you're voting, because every one of us is making the ability to get that information available if you want it.
Thank you.
So let me jump in here because this kind of ties in with a question. This was when I put it out to the various people, almost 50% of the people had this question in some form or another. So I've kind of blended it all together, so bear with me on that. But basically what they're saying in a nutshell is they want to know why the party in general doesn't really want to fight, right? They brought up different things, and I actually had to go research it to see if it was actually true. So just to give you an example, the two big topics in the news right now, we all know what they are: Roe v. Wade / SCOTUS, and the Ministry of Truth, or however you want to word it. So I did some research real quick, and I took 11 random Republicans, local, state, federal, and see what their comments were. there was one comment, period.
And you're talking about
Elected officials and candidates.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
you're talking about elected officials and candidates.
And candidates. So I did a mix. So the question really is, and by the way, the other one that was mentioned was the CRT education side of it. I kind of left that one out. Is as chairs, and I'm realizing that you're more local level, but speaking also maybe for the state and national level, how do you respond to that thought that the party, as one person said in one of their comments, is unless they know they can win, they're not going to speak up, or they're not going to get hammered by the press or whatever. Another person said they react, they don't have initiative. So where do you guys come on that? I don't know who's first, so I'll throw it out there.
Am I first?
Yeah, it works that way.
I think, I want to fight. I don't want to fight with each other. That's the big thing. First thing, I believe that you have to have strategy. I believe the other side, and I'm assuming that's who we're fighting against. They are very good with building a plan and just implementing that plan. And I think a lot of times it puts us on, we're reactive rather, than being proactive.
That's
and
what
I
somebody
think
mentioned.
That's
yes.
what we
Yep.
need to switch. But with proactive, you don't just, pick up and run. You need a strategy behind that. And, I think it was Abe Lincoln, if I had 5 hours to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening the blade. So, yeah, you do want to make sure, the point that you made, we don't want to fight unless we can win. You want to have calculated odds. You don't want to just, run in there crazy. But I believe we do want to fight. I hear that quite often, just in the last 2 weeks, why I'm not fighting against certain things that, or even happen in the primaries. And we have to remain the law and order, which I know I already brought that up earlier, but I do believe that. I don't believe we just go in, like, some of those January 6th people. We have to have order in what we do, and it has to be calculated, and it has to be within the guidelines put in front of us by the NCGOP and the plan of organization. So I think that's more of a as you mentioned, a little bit of a higher level. I think locally we can fight, and we should fight maybe a little bit more. And I think once we get past the primary, you'll see that, again, this is a very difficult time to even use that word fight, because then you're going against somebody. So, my own personal thing is stay neutral right now. May 18th, put your armor on, and, we're going to go out and fight.
I think I'm second on this one, and I think the word strategy, I think I am.
But you
Go
can
with
be
it.
second.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think the key here is where's the battle really fought? Where's the war? Let's take the pro-life issue. That war was won in 2016 when we elected Donald Trump as President of the United States, and he delivered on his promise of appointing pro-life justices. Mm-hmm. That's how we win these battles. We don't win these battles going off half-cocked and emotionally driven. We have to think strategically. Let's think of the education issues, Dan, and you mentioned a number of those key issues: pornography in schools, parental choice, CRT. How do we win that war? How do we win that battle? We win it at the ballot box in November. New Hanover County, we have 4 Board of Education seats up. We can change the future of education for all students in New Hanover County in one election. I can shout and yell and scream at board meetings today, but the reality is the current makeup of the school board, it will not move. We win the war at the election, at the ballot box each November, in my humble opinion. We need to recruit candidates who will stand for bedrock conservative principles. Now, we as party chairs don't control everybody who files as a Republican to run for office, although some people believe that's our job. That's not our role. However, as we get more and more conservative warriors, more women and men ready to stand up for conservative principles, who are willing to raise their hand as candidates, willing to raise their hands as volunteers, willing to raise their hands as donors, then we win the war. The progressives have been at this war for 70 years. They have been very patient, they have been very strategic, and they have been very methodical. We get all frustrated if we don't win in an hour, if we don't win immediately. But again, we need to empower folks like Isaac, the next generation of conservative thinkers and leaders, to understand what we as conservatives stand for, to be able to fight in the battle of ideas. And then we need the candidates, the donors, and the volunteers who will come alongside, and then we will elect conservatives who will win the war, just as Donald Trump has done. And this pro-life, this overturning of Roe v. Wade and constitutionally following the 10th Amendment and sending it back to the states is a victory of the election of Donald Trump, period.
Absolutely.
And we need to remember that. In New Hanover County, if we want to change the direction of our schools, we need to elect 4 conservatives this fall. To answer the question, we do need to fight. We need to fight strategically. We need the long view in mind, and we need to understand that we all have a role in this. It's not just the county party chair. It is all of us coming together to win this war.
What a
Mr.
great
Bill?
answer. Great answer.
And I agree with everything they're saying. I also think we need to consider the fact that this long game, is, as Will said, is not going to be one tomorrow. You know, if we put the right people in place, if we take the 3-2-1, for example, just because they get sworn in January doesn't mean January 15th it's all changed. Laws have to be passed, procedures have to be followed. The governor is still a Democrat. He's going to change, you're going to veto it. You got to go back and fight those battles. Court battles will be fought. But eventually, as with Trump's action in 2016, we will win those wars because we've taken the long game. The other thing I have problems with, you can't broad brush everything. You know, for example, yeah, there are problems in certain school districts with CRT, with the socioeconomic and all that stuff out there. We're very fortunate in Brunswick. Our school board has been proactive and dealt with those issues, and they put things in place to deal with it. Does it mean it can't happen isolated? No, nothing's perfect. But there is a procedure in place, if parents will follow through with it, to let the board know, and they will immediately fire, and they said they're going to fire a teacher, you know, if that's the case. They're out there doing it. Yet, I have school board members who have done the right thing, but they don't want to run again because they're getting beaten up so badly because of the broad brush on education, okay? You know, and you need to follow what's going on in your own county and be aware, be prepared, you know, but when they're doing the right thing, you don't rip them apart because a different county next to us or 5 counties from us is having an issue. That doesn't mean we are. But again, being alert and being prepared is important.
I think, and I'm just going to interject my own opinion on this, because this is a question that I've had for a while. Bill knows this because we've had many discussions about it, friendly, of course. But I think the perception is out there at every level of the Republican Party that they're just not going to fight. As I said, you know, you look at some of these issues, and I always joke with Bill about it, but I look at Tulsi Gabbard, who was 10 years ago was far, far left progressive, is fighting harder right now for conservative values than most Republicans. Mm-hmm. And I think I think it was Will was saying, you've got to get the message out. I think from the grassroots, it needs to come. I agree that the party at the national and state level has to set the agenda, but I think you look at Trump's win. Trump was a grassroots win. He really wasn't afraid to fight, and I think the grassroots picked up on that, and that's why he won ultimately. And if he runs in 2024, I think he's going to win again because of that. So just my 2 cents. You can.
I know, and responding to that in our conversation, we've had many, many times.
Many times we've had this conversation.
And I agree that there are some instances where to do the party great at whatever level, to go out there and knowingly know they're not going to get what they want, but pass the pass whatever they want to pass and let the governor veto it. Part of those issues come in the fact that sometimes when they do it, no one knows they did it because the press will never be there to let you know it happened. We don't own that press. So, I've seen, how many of you know, for example, that David Rouser, our congressman, every year has introduced a bill to do away with the Department of Education at the national level. Every year. How many people know that? And I guarantee you nobody does because he introduces it, it's in the record, he talks about it, but he never gets it published because he's not in the right group. So part of the issue is messaging and getting finding an alternative press to get out there because we know the mainstream press is not going to be there for us. Yeah,
The
and
media can have a dramatic change.
and the other side of it has, I've talked to several of our state legislators, and they will tell me, we are so busy working on committees and working on other issues that we can get passed. We have to balance the fact, do we want to put a lot of time into something that we know is going to get killed, or do we put it into something that's going to help our people and we have a good chance of getting it through? So that's a balancing act for them, too.
Right. Okay, Isaac.
And Will told me I could say that.
Okay, I'm good with it.
So I like all of you guys' answers, especially Mr. Will's. You're talking about the educational issues, and fortunately we have a great school board to where I'm not seeing these issues as impactful as kids in other counties and states. So I just wanted to compliment you on that one. But Mr. Bill, how you doing over there? Good.
You were doing
boy.
so well talking to Mr. Will, and now suddenly it's got to me. Okay,
Well,
sir.
I'll keep it a little easy for you this time. But so you are a man who knows a lot, and you've had a lot of history.
Hey, let's be careful now.
Yeah.
Is that an old joke that I have a lot of history?
I think I've seen some of your history in the textbooks in my A-push class. But so how has your past experiences and careers, like being a principal, how has that helped you in your position now? How's it
Excellent
inspired you
question.
even?
And I've had the privilege of being a high school principal in 2 different states. I'm also a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, so I've had leadership training. So I think the ability to work with different groups, especially when you go north and teachers' unions come involved, you have a lot of issues that you deal with all the time because there's a second administration sitting out there with the building rep, and you have to deal with that. So I've done that kind of work. My leadership training in the military has come to a great deal. But to an extent, it's still a little bit different because when you're doing what we do, we're dealing with volunteers. And that's something I learn on a regular basis. I have some people sitting on my shoulders going, Bill, it's a volunteer. You can't kill them. Bill, you got to be nice. And if you're a teacher, you're working for me, I've got certain powers. If you're in the military and I say jump, the question is how high and how long do I stay up there is your answer.
Yep.
And it's different when you're running a volunteer organization because you've got to motivate people. And I have that training, but I also have to remember that I don't have a lot of control if they decide not to do something. I just have to motivate them far enough to get them to do what we need to do. There's a definition of leadership, which is not a popular one, but it is a real one. I use the one that to manipulate personnel and material to achieve a goal. And if you talk about working with people and working with material, that's exactly what you're doing. You're molding them or manipulating them to reach a common goal.
Great answer. Great answer.
Mary?
I have a question for all of you. I would like to know what you think. What role do you feel the grassroots groups in your areas play in helping spread the conservative message?
Who's first?
Josh?
Yes.
Well, we were just talking about this a little bit earlier. I think the grassroots is great. I think it's needed. I think there has to be a better communication between the grassroots and the Republican Party because your end goal is the same. You're trying to unite. You're trying to maybe bring somebody up that is lesser known, but there still has to be structure. You can't just go gun-ho and do everything on your own and make everything up and not follow rules because we have to follow rules as the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
So for us to partner with a grassroots organization, we need rules in play. And there's many times that Grassroots, they're new, they're aggressive, they're the ones that want to fight because they don't have any boundaries on them, and that's how they're going to go. And sometimes it's difficult to merge the two. So I have worked with grassroots organizations that have been great, and I also have had to step away from, you still do your thing. I know the end goal is the same, but we don't really work well together because of different regulations that we're under. We're federated, you're not, and you're just your own free agent. And it's a shame because, as you mentioned, Donald Trump, that was a grassroots thing. It could be so good to marry the two together and to work as a team separately, because grassroots can do things that we can't do. So but you can still work as a team and work on each other's strengths and go forward, and it would be a tremendous help to both organizations if we did that. I just think it's a major challenge to actually find that balance between the two.
I agree. Will?
Yeah, I think for me, Mary, I'm going to take a little bit different tact. I see us all as grassroots. And I think the key in our position, whether you be a leader of a grassroots organization that is not affiliated with a Republican Party but conservative in nature, and my role as chairman of a specific party and conservative as an individual, our job in leadership is what Josh said. It's unifying. It's recognizing and focusing on what we agree on. Again, my guess is we're all conservatives sitting up on this dais, but I guarantee there are certain issues that we might have a difference of opinion on. Dan, you mentioned how you and Bill have great discussions. My guess is you differ on certain things, but at the end of the day,
admits when he's wrong.
At the end of the day,
Which is never.
At the end of the day, the mission is the same, and I think that's our job as leaders, is to understand that we're all grassroots, that we all have one mission. And that mission is to elect conservatives because we believe the conservative message, the conservative principles, are those that are in the best interest of all Americans. Not just Republicans, not just conservatives, but we believe personal responsibility is good for liberals. We believe personal responsibility is good for the unaffiliated voter. We believe the right of a parent to dictate an education for their child is good for all kids. It doesn't matter what party, it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter in what part of town you live in, it doesn't matter your social economic status. You being able to help direct your child's education is best for that kid to become the all that they were created to be, he or she. And so for me, the answer is we're all grassroots. We all have the same mission. We need to focus on our commonalities. Recognize that, Dan, if you and I agree on 85% of things, that's pretty daggum good. And that's, that's what we need to focus on, not the 15% things that we differ in. Because America was set and America was founded so that we could have a discourse, so that we could have a debate, so we could have difference of opinions. That's the greatness of this country. This is what we need to fight for. And so, Mary, to the question, I think we're all grassroots, and it's our job as the leaders of whatever part of the mechanism of the conservative movement we stand in is to unify and focus on what brings us together. And by doing that, we change the world. Look what Ronald Reagan did. Mm-hmm. Ronald Reagan worked with a guy by the name of Tip O'Neill.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What? Could that even happen
and
today?
they accomplished great things, even though they disagreed on many issues.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that, but again, Ronald Reagan was a statesman. He was a communicator. He was a leader. He saw the strategy. He saw the big picture. And he led through it. He rallied us around what? What brought us together? What are the commonalities? What are the great things that make us Americans? And that's what Reagan spoke to. That's what we as leaders need to speak to, whether, whatever part of the conservative movement. I'm sorry, I'm getting fired up. Whatever part of the conservative movement we play.
Thank you, Will.
Because that was great.
Yeah, what he said. I think I'm going to take a point to combine and unify what both of them said. How'd that sound to go with it?
Good.
First of all, taking what Will said, if you go back to our famous friend Ronald Reagan, who said, if a person believes 70% of what you believe, that's your candidate. You know, because no one agrees with you 100% of the time.
Never.
Those of you that are married, you know that don't work 100% of the time. But the only person I agree with 100% of the time is the person I see in the mirror when I'm shaving, and sometimes I don't like him sometimes. But anyway, on a serious note, as far as Grassroots is concerned, not many people know this, but in 2010, when I was living in Chowan County, I started a Tea Party up there. And I was the Tea Party president, and we worked throughout the state with a very loose organization, a Tea Party. And I see that as the next generation is the grassroots groups we see going on right now. And it's my hope that they will learn what we learned. Back then, I'd gone so far in the leadership at the state level of the Tea Party that I actually sat down, drafted, and found out exactly what it would take to start my own party, or the Tea Party to start its own political party. And looking at it, we realized that it would probably take a dozen years before it became big enough to affect nationally what was going on. So that wasn't going to work because our problems had to be addressed much quicker than that.
Right.
So what we agreed to do, and people say the Tea Party disappeared, it didn't. We agreed we would get involved with the Republican Party and change from within. And that's what we've been doing. That's why this conservative started. And my hope, these grassroots people will see down the road that fighting us doesn't change a whole lot. Coming in and joining us and working with us, and we're not going to agree all the time, but if we agree 70% of the time,
Right.
let's work on that common area and make it work for everybody. So that's my goal and my hope long term, that these grassroots groups see the fact that they need to work with us, because we need, with them or without them we can't win, and without us
Right.
they can't win either.
We need
and
each
the only
other.
one that wins then is Democrats.
And I think
Yep.
to your point with the Tea Party, you look at how things have gone since then, and the Republican Party has kind of moved that way. It's now the party of the middle class, as opposed to the old view that it was
The rich and famous.
The rich and famous. The Democrats are now the party of the rich and famous. So I think that's a very good point that you make, and it's how you bring about change. I'm going to ask another question.
We're going on break for a sec.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Fired up, just like Will. It's got me fired up. It's a good thing.
We need to take a small break and pay some bills. We'll be right back.
How much time we got left?
The clerk of courts makes legal decisions that affect the lives of Brunswick County citizens daily. The current clerk of court, who is an attorney, has demonstrated this for many years. Katie Maiden has practiced law for over 10 years. To ensure that this quality of service continues, vote Katie Maiden for clerk of courts, paid for by the committee to elect Katie Maiden.
Paid for by the committee to elect Judge Michael Stadding. As a member of the United States Air Force, I stand for our nation. As a prosecutor, I took a stand against violent criminals. As an attorney for the Fraternal Order of Police, I took a stand for law and order. As a sitting conservative judge, I stand for our Constitution. And as a judge on the Court of Appeals, I will stand up for you. Vote for a battle-tested conservative. Stand with Stadding. Michael Stadding is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of his military rank, job titles does not imply endorsement by the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
All right, welcome back to All Things Brunswick. Wow, this microphone's going quick. We only got about 3-4 minutes. I'm going to ask one quick question, which I'm going to direct this at you, Will, because it's kind of specific to New Hanover County, but I think it applies to anything, is why does the party not run candidates for many of the offices that are out there? For example, Wilmington Mayor last year, Sappho ran unopposed. What would you say to that?
It's not for lack of trying, I'll tell you that. I contacted probably 10 or 15 people asking them to run for mayor. We can only do so much. And again, part of the problem, Dan, is that we don't have a bench of candidates, and we recognize that. And that's part of the job we need to continue doing post-election. So it's not for lack of trying. In 2019, when I first got elected, after the municipal election that year, one of the jobs I had was to try to recruit school board candidates. And in this environment, it's pretty crazy to even think. But we had one person for 3 positions up until the last few hours. And literally, I knocked on 10 or 15 doors to get somebody to run. So it's a combination of us developing a bench, but there needs to be people that are willing to stand up, like we talked about earlier, that we are a party of candidates, of grassroots volunteers, and donors. And so we'll do everything we can, and we will continue. That's good constructive feedback for the party that I will receive. That's a failure of the party of not having a candidate. We recognize that, but it takes more than just the party to fill these roles. We need people willing to run for office as well.
You heard that, folks. You need to step up and run for office. Okay, we're about ready to leave you for another week.
Can't we get our questions?
I want to thank our county chairs, Will Knecht, New Hanover, Josh Smith from Pender, and Bill Moore from Brunswick. And I also would like to thank our co-host, who did very well, Isaac Souls, president of the Brunswick County TARS.
Thank you,
And
Isaac, for joining us.
Congratulations,
Yes,
Grandma.
And my co-host, Dan.
Oh, well,
Good
thank
job,
you, Mayor.
sir. And TK, we got to give a
Yes,
shout out to
him.
TK.
He does all the hard work behind
Thank
the
you very
scenes.
much. Join us next week. This is All Things Brunswick. We love you.